Hey, everybody, and welcome to John Talks Indian Cinema. This is a very special episode. I just left the movie theater in my hometown, and I just finished watching Devara Part One. This movie came out in the States last Thursday, I think it was, maybe Friday. So I wanted to see this film. I was the only person in the theater at the show I went to. So I had the whole place to myself. I even got a couple of pictures I'm going to put up here to show you. So it was like a private screening. And it does kind of bum me out. It's really cool to see these movies on the big screen, but it really does bum me out that no one's there because, I've seen videos of movies in India and the people go absolutely crazy. And I could see where audience members would go crazy here. So that's not the best thing in the world, but it's still a very cinematic experience. And this film is definitely that. So, excuse me. So, this was written and directed by Koratala Siva, and I don't think I've seen anything that they have directed. It stars, and only the second film I've seen him in, N.T. Rama Rao Jr., or as they say on the big screen, Man of Masses, N.T.R. Now, the only other thing I've seen him is RRR, and he was fantastic in that. Co-starring Saif Ali Khan, who I've seen in a ton of stuff. Ho Naa Ho, Dil Chahta Hai, Sacred Game, amongst others. And in Games, he put on a lot of weight because his character was supposed to be, past his prime. Well, he definitely lost it as the bad guy in this film, and he was a good bad guy. Janhvi Kapoor, who I have not seen anything, a beautiful young lady, by the way. It says she was in Rocky and Rani, but I don't remember her in that. So if she was, I didn't see her. And Prakash Raj, who I've seen in a bunch of stuff, KGF Chapter 2, Singham, Anion. Now, let me just say this. So I looked this film up before I went to see it because it was available in Hindi and it was available in Telugu. And everything I read said it was Telugu. So I saw the Telugu version, and I have to say I was really disappointed because it was a dub. And it was obvious that it was a dub because I know the voices of both those actors, and you could tell it just wasn't their voice. And the dub was really loud too. It didn't sound natural at all. In fact, the opening scene when they're sitting around the table talking, the cops, you can hear their normal voices as well as the dub. It almost sounded like a voiceover. So I'm bummed out about that. I would have preferred to see, I guess it's the Hindi version where it's their real, it's them talking. So I was a little disappointed about that. But after about a half an hour, I kind of forgot about it because I was reading the subtitles. So I'm not going to do my usual story, music. I'm not going to break it down that way because I also don't want to give too much away because it's a new release and there are spoilers in this. But I will tell you initial reaction to it. I thought the story was okay. There really wasn't much of a story, to be perfectly honest. Um, it was about these four villages on this mountain who are trying to. It's so hard to explain. They smuggle for this guy who gives them money, and then NTR's character Devara realizes the stuff they're smuggling is killing people. So he doesn't want to do this anymore. Well, Saif Ali Khan, who plays the bad guy, still wants to do it. And it's that back and forth with those two. And it really is a film of two halves. The first half is the background of Devara and it starts in 1996 and then it flashed back 12 years earlier to Devara's backstory. Then it comes forward. And that was the other thing about the time frame that I found confusing. At the worst, what, 86, 84. So at the oldest point, it was 1984. But in this village, you would never know that it was 1984 because it seemed to be almost like another era, like old. I mean, some of the fashions in the second half were much more updated, and they had vehicles, but even some of the lighting, there were lamps, there was no tech, no phones, nothing. So it was almost like of a bygone era. So that was kind of confusing to me too about the time jumps and everything. And I but I will say this, putting that aside, the story was okay. I wasn't bowled over by it. It was a long movie. It was 3 hours and 15 minutes. And there were a couple of times where I kind of phased out a little bit. It didn't happen a lot because I will say the look of this film is pretty spectacular. This I don't know where the location was, and I'm sure there's a lot of green screen in this movie, but there's a lot of practical locations, and it was just like something I've never. And I think I've said this in other reviews. It took me to a place I'd never seen before, and their use of the water and the importance of the water in this entire film is pretty amazing, and it's beautiful, and it's and even though you could tell some of it was digitally rendered, it still looked pretty impressive. And the underwater stuff that they do looks really good too. The action scenes are spectacular, but it was almost like I think my one dig on the movie is the plot, the thin thread of the plot was to interconnect the action scenes, which were spectacular. And they were beautifully shot. The music, although I have to say, and I say this about Christopher Nolan films too, I found the music, it was a little, now it could be because I think in the theater that I saw it in, they had it cranked up a little too loud. So it was always there. And there were times when it didn't have to be there. I wasn't crazy about that. But in the action scenes, it fit beautifully. And the NTR, man, he's just I don't know how they do have to. I'm not talking about like the wire stuff that they're doing, but there's scenes where they have to do this ritual fighting and they're flipping each other and it looks like it's them. I mean, I have to believe a lot of it is them. So that stuff just looks great. And again, the performance by NTR, who I think is the best thing in the Saif Ali Khan was really good too, but he's playing a bad guy. So not a big stretch because he's played bad guys before, but NTR and this I don't think this is spoiling anything, but the first half is about him, the character Devara, and the second half is about Vara, his son, and he plays both roles. And what I found intriguing about him in the two roles, you would think that it was like Bahubali. They did the same thing in Bahubali. You would think that there wouldn't be a big difference between the two, but he did some real subtle things as the son that he didn't do as his father. His gait was a little different. His posture was a little different. The way he fought was a little different. Even his facial expressions, where Devara seems to be real serious, he was much lighter. Now there are some things that happen in the end of the movie that I will not spoil, but I am boggled after watching the ending. And there was one thing that happened that I was a little confused about. And for those who have seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about at the very end. And then it sets up the sequel. So they're going to make a sequel, but I don't understand how that ending sets up the sequel because things that happen at the end of the film don't really lead to a sequel. So you can give me your theory as long as you're a little bit vague. But he was really, really, really good in this. I enjoyed him a lot, and I did not know about the two characters that he was going to play. I knew nothing about that when I heard about this film. So I was pretty impressed by that. And again, the underwater, there's actually fights underwater with blades that is it's really, really well done. I mean, they must have had a giant tank to be able to do this because they're under the water. You see it. But it was, and I'm glad I saw it in the theater because those action scenes looked so cool. And it's the Red Sea that surrounds this mountain, and there's a lot of blood in the water in this film. That's a reoccurring theme throughout the film. So, yeah, let me think if anything else. Like I said, the music. There were songs. Um, the first song is the battle. A second song, they're gonna fish instead of smuggle, taking a new direction. The third song is a wedding where they're trying to figure out a way to kill Devara by getting him drunk, which is cute. Fourth song, he falls in love with Thanga, who I thought was also very funny because she wasn't like a typical female in these Indian films. She was like when he's fighting, actually Vara is fighting. She's getting all like hot and bothered, like, oh my. And that's the other thing about this film. The first half was about the parents. The second half was about their children who have grown up. And within the thread, and maybe this is what they're going to tie it to. The whole structure of the movie is there's a cop trying to stop something that's going to be smuggled in, and he meets up with Prakash's character. So he's doing this. He's telling the story of Devara in flashbacks, and every now and then they come back to the present or 1996 where he's telling the story. But that's really how it ends. He's done telling the story. Then they have one other scene that explains what happened to Devara, and then it goes to part two. Now, maybe part two is going to be about the cops, because I don't know. Without giving anything away, I don't know how they would keep everybody involved. I hope I'm not giving anything away. There is a pretty good twist that I'm not going to say wasn't predictable. It kind of was after going into the second half, but I still I'm glad I went to the theater to see this because again, visually, the cinematography, the special effects, the locations were beautiful, and seeing it up on that big screen all by my lonesome um was impressive, much more impressive than even on my big TV. So I'm glad I did that. But anyway, that's my spoiler-free review of it. If I was to give it, I go 1 to 5. I'd probably give like, I think I'd give the visuals a 4. I'd give the performances. I mean, because of him, I really thought he was great. I'd give that a 4. So, I mean, overall, I find it. I really can't give it a 4, even though I liked aspects of it. So I guess I'm gonna have to give it a 3. Um, because the story just didn't do it for me. It was, I don't know. Like I said, I think it was just to tie all the action scenes together. So that's my review of the film I just watched, and I'm gonna edit this probably tomorrow, but I'm gonna try to get it out that day. I'm gonna try to get it out tomorrow. So anyway, that's what I think. Let me know what you guys think if you've seen it. If you haven't, go see it. Then come back, watch this. Let me know what you think. And maybe somewhere down the road, I'll spoil the crap out of it. Now, I do want to say that there's a film coming out that I really want to see. It's called Sing 'Em Again. And I'm a huge fan of that universe. And I've seen every one of the films within the universe, but every trailer I've seen for it is a fan made trailer. I don't even know if it's coming in the theater or if it's going to stream or if it's out yet. If you guys know anything about it, let me know, because that is a film I absolutely want to see. I love Ajay Devgan as this character. He always hits guys on top of the head, and he does this thing too, and he does that. What else does he do? He makes that. Oh, yeah, the claw, the sing, yeah, sing him. So let me know about that because I really, really want to see that. And I'm going to the theater now. I'm going to the movie theater because I care about you guys. So all I ask in return is subscribe, hit the notification button, hit the like button, and for the love of God, share it. I got to build up because I understand the algorithm a lot more now, and they keep track of things, and your channel isn't worth anything till you get like 500 subscribers or 100 pieces of content, which I'm working really hard to do. So it's going to take a while for this thing to take off like the other one did. But hey, you know what? I still enjoy the movies, and I enjoy the loyal following that I do have. I love talking to you guys. I love the back and forth. So I'm going to continue it and keep my fingers crossed. It's something. One of these things takes off. If they'll push it out, if YouTube will push it out. But anyway, that's it. That's my thoughts on Devara Part One. Of course, I'm going to have to see Devara Part Two because I have no idea what they're going to do for that. But I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this. We'll talk to you soon with another 10-ish minute review on John Thompson. Thanks for watching.